Hey everybody, how's it going? It's HeroRR here, and today I'm going to be showing you guys the method that I personally use when cleaning my chain. Let you guys know as a disclaimer, in no way, shape, or form am I responsible for your chain or how you clean it. You do any of these steps at your own risk. The three major things can go wrong if you do not lube your chain. One, you will get premature chain and socket wear, which means it's going to cost you more money and you're going to have to replace the chain and sockets, which is going to be much more of a pain in the ass than just lubing the chain up. Secondly, you will lose drivetrain efficiency. In other words, you will lose rear wheel horsepower. You guys feel like your bike is too slow, it feels like it's lost a little spunk. Clean the chain, do whatever you gotta do to the chain to get it going, and I promise you, you'll feel a notice of difference in power if your chain was currently dirty. And of course, the most important, safety. Chains are maintained and lubricated to help prevent catastrophic failure that could break the chain, which could lead to injury, death, and or engine damage. Alright guys, so without further ado, let's get this started. Alright guys, so some things you're going to need for this job. Obviously you're going to need a motorcycle. You're going to need a rear stand. If you don't have one of these, you can get by without one, but what you're going to have to do is, because you can't move the chain with the bike standing still, you're going to have to push the bike, so you'll clean like a portion of the chain, move the bike over like 3 feet, clean another portion of the chain, and you're going to keep doing that until it's all done. It's a big pain in the ass, and I highly recommend getting a pair of Pitbull stands if you can. At least get a rear stand. I really recommend Pitbull over other brands just because I've heard other brands suck. It's like 130 bucks, but it's going to be the only stand you'll ever need for the rest of your life. You buy a piece of shit brand rear stand, it might be 50 bucks, but it's going to be not as stable as a Pitbull, and you're going to have to replace it probably after a few years. So I just go with Pitbull. Some other things you're going to need a good motorcycle degreaser. This is what I use, by the way. There's other products you can use, other methods you can use. This is just what I do, guys. Anyway, I have this motorcycle degreaser. It's safe for chain and sprockets. That's important. You want to make sure it's O-ring safe, and this one is. I got a chain cleaner right here, which again, this is another O-ring safe chain cleaner. These kind of do the same thing. Here we have a thing of chain lube. Again, you want to make sure everything is O-ring safe when you're buying it. Everything here is O-ring safe. And here's some chain wax. And you don't have to have all of these. You could get by with just, say, the degreaser and the chain wax, or the degreaser and the lube. Either one's fine. Here I have a couple brushes. I have the grunge brush, which is a very popular brush. Most people use it. It's a very good brush. I love it. And then I also have this weird spiral thing, which I wouldn't recommend this. I mean, it works fine, but I don't really care for it too much. But hey, I mean, it was like $8 or something, so if you want to get one, you can. It's just kind of a pain in the ass to hold it on the chain while you're moving it, because then the gunk gets on your hand. With this grunge brush, you have a really nice handle, which allows you to kind of get your hand away from the chain. And of course, you're going to need a bunch of rags, so I have all those. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get this bike on the rear stand. Alright, so now that we are on the rear stand, we're going to move to the back here, and we're going to inspect the chain. So as you can see, this chain's pretty dirty. It's not the cleanest thing in the world. These sprockets are dirty too. You can clean the sprockets if you want. First, some things to note about the chain. There's two components mainly by the chain. There's, the chain, and then there's obviously the sprockets. First, you want to look at the sprocket teeth. And as you can see, sprocket teeth right here, they're in pretty decent shape. I definitely can get another few thousand miles out of them, maybe even more. I mean, they're pretty good. You want to basically see that there's a lot of meat on this part right here. It's not too sharp, it's nice and flat. And if it's nice and flat, then you're pretty much good to go. And you also want to make sure they're not too thin. If one of these snap off, you can lose your chain and it can cause serious injury or even death. So you always want to make sure that your sprockets are in good shape. Of course, you're not just looking at one, you're kind of going through them all, make sure they're all in good shape. Another thing you want to note too with the chain is you move through the chain and you go and you find something which they call the master link. This is the master link on mine. As you can see, it's different than all the other links. Basically, the thing to note about this is you want to just kind of inspect it, make sure it's not loose, not damaged in any way. In fact, the whole chain, it's good to inspect basically every single link, but if you don't have the time to do that, at least check the master link. And right here on the chain guard itself, it has some information on it. It wants you to, hold on, let me focus. It wants you to keep the chain adjusted and lubricated, and you want to make sure it has 1 3/8 inches of free play. And there's a couple ways to measure this, but you can just look them up. But basically, you just find the lowest point, and then you go like this, and you just measure from here to here, and that's your play. Mine's actually a little bit loose, but it's better to be loose than to be tight, and it should be fine. I mean, it's 1.5 inches. So anyway, let's get to lubing this bitch up. All right, guys, so the first thing I like to do with my chain, you can just take a rag here. Mine's kind of dirty, but that's fine. And I'm just gonna kind of find the master link, which we talked about that earlier, and mine's right here. And I'm just gonna very gently just kind of just go like this throughout the chain, just kind of very gently scrub off any loose dirt, debris. And as you can see, just wiping this thing down really helps improve the look of it. Gets a lot of the shit off right away. Alright, so that's a quick pass, and most people recommend not actually doing that because it can push dirt further in, but I just like to do a very light scuffing of it. So here we go. We have our motorcycle chain degreaser. We're going to go ahead and show you how this works. Basically, what you do is, and you can be a little bit liberal with this, you just kind of, yeah, so as you guys see, you just go like this, and this will help remove a lot of the shit. Just kind of work it in there, go left to right. Just kind of cover the chain. Okay, so now we're back at the master link here. See, the master link is right there. And just let me take you guys back. Okay, now that that's done, I like to take this grunge brush, start the master link, and just kind of brush like this. Okay, so we made it to our master link, and now what we want to do is, because we just scrubbed, this has 3, as you can see, it has 3 brushes kind of going in, but there's no brush right here. So what you can do is you can just take this right here and just do this. So now the whole chain has been scrubbed, and we're going to want to go to our next part, which is we're going to take another rag. As you can see, I have a rag right here, and we're just going to wipe it. And we're going to use a little bit more pressure now because the lube is set in. And we're going to try and start from our master link. Okay. Now, another thing to note, guys, do not, whatever you do, turn your bike on while cleaning the chain. I know some people will put the bike in gear so the bike will move the chain for you. That's a very bad idea. If your hand gets caught in between the chain and the sprocket, you'll lose a finger. Just don't be lazy, guys. Just go ahead and just move the tire. It's not that heavy. It's not that hard. Come on, you guys should be pretty strong. You should be able to handle it. Now we got a relatively clean chain here. Okay, and if you guys are not happy with the way your chain looks, you can go ahead and do another serving of this, the chain degreaser. But my chain, I mean, it's pretty clean. I think it's in relatively shiny shape. You can get inside these little crevices here, but I'm just gonna leave them. It should be fine. And my chain actually does have a little bit of surface rust, which is gone now, but it has some pitting. The previous owner didn't take care of it like I did. So now we're gonna move on to our next step, which will be our chain wax. And you can use whichever one you want. Just make sure it's O-ring safe. And I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna find our master link, which is right here. And I'm just gonna go like this. It's also a good idea to wear gloves and a mask if you can. It's not good to breathe this shit in. It's not good for your hands. I forgot that step. If you don't have it, it's not a huge deal, but you know, safety should always be a concern for everyone. So there we go. That is on there. And now what I like to do once I do that is, you typically want to take a clean rag. I don't have a clean rag though, but I'm just going to use a very light amount of pressure, and I'm just going to go like this. Start from the O-ring, and just very light. I'm just wiping off the excess. Okay. All right, and that's pretty much it. I mean, once you have the chain completely lubed and up, you're pretty much good to go. Sometimes I'll do the additional step of adding this chain lube, and I will apply it directly onto the rings. But with my experience, the wax seems to do a really good job working its way in. But I'm gonna go ahead and show you one other thing you wanna kinda do. This is what I like to do. I also like to find the master link. So I'll just take this wax and I'll just, you don't have to be too liberal with it, just a little bit right here, just so it gets on the sprocket. Now you're just going to do the inside, which can be kind of a pain. And I'm guilty for not always doing it, but it's not a big deal, you just do this. Once that phase has been finished, I'm going to take my rag, and again, I'm just going to wipe off this excess. Just a couple other things to note, guys. You want to be very careful about if lube hits your tire here. As you can see, a little bit hit my tire. And what you can do is just take a clean rag and just kind of wipe it off. You guys see that? All that is chain lube, and you do not want to set your bike down on that. If you do, it will get on your tire and it can cause you to lose traction, which is obviously a bad thing. Just kind of wanted to show you guys that tip. You're just going to slowly rock it forward just to get the tire out of the lube. Now comes the final step. You want to double check that your kickstand is down, and then you're going to lower the bike. Alright guys, now there's a couple other things to note. Basically, you'll want this chain to dry for about 10 minutes before either starting it on the rear stand and letting the chain wax fly off, or before taking it for a ride. Take it a ride about maybe 10 to 15 minutes, then turn the bike off, inspect the chain, make sure everything's okay, and then you're ready to go. Another thing to note too with these CBR600RRs is that this little fairing right here gets chain wax all over it, and you can see there's a little bit right there. So after your 15-minute ride, take a rag and wipe it all off, because it's going to be everywhere, I promise you. Alright guys, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something, and you guys better keep them chains clean, because they will help your longevity of your performance of your chain, and they'll even help your performance. If you have a really bad chain and you go ahead and clean it, sometimes you'll notice that it has a little bit more get up and go. There's a lot of drivetrain losses with a bad chain. So alright guys, thank you for watching. Hope you guys have a great day. Take care. Bye bye.